Most common late model Toyota Tacoma problems. Does yours have any of these? Well, good afternoon everybody, and welcome back to Rodmotive. I thought it'd be interesting to go out and see what the most common late model Toyota Tacoma problems are. You know, the used market right now is huge. So people are buying tons of late model used Toyota Tacomas. Now, I did find something kind of interesting because Toyota is always given the high, at least feeling of reliability. But I was a bit surprised. Now, before I tell you why, if you're new, make sure you click that subscribe button and smash that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. So, let's talk about it. The Toyota Tacoma late models, these are the used, a little bit older Toyota Tacomas, are rated a 3.5 out of 5 when it comes to reliability. Now, that's a bit lower than I expected. I would have thought somewhere more in the 4.5 range, something like that, if you listen to all of the talk out there about how reliable the Toyota Tacoma is. But 3.5 out of 5. Now, they say it's not such a bad thing because most of these problems, and there are 6 of them, are not that costly or difficult to repair. So even though our wonderful Toyota Tacoma has been given a 3.5 out of 5, it's not so bad. So let's get into it. First of all, premature lower ball joint problems or faults. Now, they say you'll notice that because it's hard to steer. Well, that can be a problem, but it's easy to, I guess, look out for if you're checking out a used Toyota Tacoma. If it's hard to steer, could have a faulty ball joint. You can also hear noises, you know, clunky, squeaky, rattly, whatever kind of sounds coming from underneath the front end. It's in the front end suspension. So it wouldn't be that hard to tell, and apparently not that costly to repair. Number 2. Faulty transmissions on high mileage Toyota Tacomas. Now, that's kind of interesting because the Toyota Tacoma gets a bad rap about the transmission anyway, especially on the newer ones. People complain about gear hunting and all kinds of things. So it's kind of ironic that there are some faulty transmission problems on high mileage Toyota Tacomas. Next up, number 3, a cracked amber front parking lens. Now, that's not such a big deal because they're not so difficult to change out, right? I mean, it's pretty much just pulling one out, putting a new one in. Not a real big deal and not that expensive. I think that can be done without labor, of course, for somewhere under probably 70 bucks, maybe even less, depending on where you would get it. That is most likely just due to temperature change. You know, the only reason plastic is going to crack, well, number 1 is because it's not as strong as it should be. But number 2, fluctuations, extremes in temperature. Really, really hot, like we get here, and really, really cold, like you get up north. And we do get cold here sometimes too, so I'm sure that's a contributing factor in my area. Number 4, a faulty MAF sensor. Now, the MAF sensor, I would think, is probably one of the easiest things to replace. If you're not familiar with it, it's the mass airflow sensor. It's located right here. All you have to do is disconnect the wire. I've done this a million times when adding or changing cold air intakes, but just pull out the little plug right here. There's 2 screws, one here and one here. Unscrew it, pull out the faulty MAF sensor, and put a new one in. It's just that simple. Now, reasons why, it's claimed because of dirt. In other words, that sensor getting dirty, which makes sense in the Toyota Tacoma in the off-road community. Because if you're out and you're in the dust and dirt and sucking all that in and running it past that mass airflow sensor, then you're going to have problems with it eventually. And I would be curious to know, if you're a big-time off-roader and you hit the trails often with lots of dust and stuff in the air, have you experienced this problem? Do you even know if you have this problem? Which, speaking of, the only way that you're really going to know is when that check engine light pops up on the gauge cluster. Because if the mass airflow sensor is not functioning, it's going to let you know. But like I mentioned, it's a pretty simple fix. You can do it yourself. It's not complicated. I don't even think you can screw it up by putting it in the wrong way. It only fits one way. So if you're having a check engine light show up on your screen, that would probably be the first thing that I check, because it's a simple fix. And as I mentioned, you can do it yourself. And no reason to panic. That's just a sensor for emissions. Number 5, a throttle position sensor problem, or a faulty throttle position sensor. Now, this one kind of relates back to the transmission, because a lot of the times when there's a problem with the transmission, it's because of this throttle position sensor. Again, not a hefty bill to fix, but something that can be very annoying and frustrating if you're having transmission problems and haven't been able to solve exactly why it's happening. Number 6, a bad starter. Now, I have heard of this sporadically, off and on, comments, things people have said on the channel about having starter problems. Again, it's not a huge expense. It's not that cheap either, particularly if you have somebody do it. But it's merely a matter of pulling the old one. I simplify, make it sound easy. But pulling the old one and slapping a new one in. I think you can buy them at most parts stores, probably online as well. And of course, the dealerships will do it for you too, but not that big of a deal. And again, all of these are items that are not that expensive to fix. Again, there's a few that can actually be done by yourself. You don't have to pay that humongo labor cost. So those are 6 of the most common late model Toyota Tacoma problems. I still marvel that the Tacoma is only rated a 3.5 out of 5 when it comes to reliability. If you listen to all the comments and all of the talk that you see in the forums and in the groups and other channels and things like that, even my own, that's usually one of the first things people talk about, is how reliable the Toyota Tacoma is. I don't know, maybe they've slipped a bit over the years. It's going to be very interesting to see once they come out with the next model, the Gen 4 Toyota Tacoma. Are they going to be back to the reliability that we all expect, or at least maintain where we're at right now? Or are there going to be ongoing problems or new problems? It's going to be very interesting to see, particularly when they put that 4-cylinder turbo in the truck, which I'm kind of warming up a little bit to, as long as it has that oomph, that get up and go that I like and that I want to see in the truck. Anyway, leave a comment. I'd be curious to know if you've had any of these problems. What kind of cost was it? And did you do it yourself? I'd be curious to know. Also, again, if you didn't in the beginning, make sure you smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. I do have 2 additional channels. Robmotive JT, all about Jeep Gladiators and a little bit of Wrangler content. And Robmotive FST, all about full-size trucks. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.